Interesting. Okay, so just a kind of potentially quite a big topic, but let's just kind of touch on it fairly briefly and kind of wrap things up around this. AI in procurement. So you and I have both done some work in this area. What is it that actually got you interested in it? I've got an inkling because obviously you come from a kind of coding background, but what is it you find interesting about it, and how do you think that procurement can most effectively take advantage of the AI opportunities that are now starting to crop up and be available?
Yeah, so since I'm in programming since a long time, I've always followed the kind of progress in AI. I implemented AI solutions already 10 years ago. It was a clustering algorithm for court decisions. At that time, there was no search engine for court decisions that was very valuable for lawyers. And then different solution came. And when I moved to marketing technology, I remember there was a vendor which had a AI solution to send smarter emails to your prospects. And when I asked what was under the hood, because I'm very interested in the technology, it was extremely basic. It was an algorithm from 20 years ago. Really? That's what they sell?
That's not really
Okay.
AI, is it? And I think that's where it must have been an interesting conversation where you were kind of asking the pointed questions. It must have been quite awkward for the people on the other end.
So typically they don't know. They have no idea. When you ask too much details, the product managers, they don't know. But forget it. I think there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of disillusionment. So that's the typical curve, hype cycle from Gartner, right? The reason there's disillusionment is that people don't really understand what it is about. Even today, ChatGPT, people don't understand what it does. They think that ChatGPT thinks, reason. It doesn't. What ChatGPT is, it's a completion prompt. It basically takes your question as a sentence and predicts what is the next word to put as an answer. That's what it does, nothing more. It's not statistical, it's smarter than that. But that's what it does. And when you do prompt engineering, you keep that in mind, because ultimately you want to write a question in the form of a text that feels natural for ChatGPT to then complement after your prompt.
Do you think that a lot of people? I feel like this when I've seen people playing around with like the Chat GPT playground. I feel like a lot of people almost try to talk to it in the same way that they talk to Google at the moment.
Yeah, that's what they try. And the limitation is a cutover. The cutover was September 21. After that, it doesn't know anything anymore. So right now, there's a lot of solutions, including solutions that I'm developing myself, which are about augmenting ChatGPT with actual data from today, whether it's data which is internal, external, or a mix of it. But without trying to pitch my product, I'm going to talk about Bing Chat. When you go to Bing Chat and you type your question, what does it do? It doesn't query ChatGPT first. It's first doing a search through Bing. The top 3 articles are returned. These 3 articles are then fed as a context in a prompt to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will basically use this context to write the answer. And that's it. That's how they augment it with actual data from today. But then when you think like that, the use cases are enormous, because that means that it's all about the context that you feed inside the prompt behind the curtain.
100%. Yeah, totally agree.
And the possibilities are endless in this context. You can retrieve data from a database. You can retrieve internal documentation. What we see today also is the more the models advance and compute becomes cheap, the more the context window can be big. So until last week, you could put 4,000 tokens as a context to ChatGPT 3.5. Today, they released a new version. You can go up to 8,000. That means instead of putting 40 pages of document, you can put 80 pages of document as a context. And ChatGPT will base its answer on this amount of facts. And that is going to really augment the capability to drive relevance of information given by ChatGPT. ChatGPT is good at two things. One, which is completion. That's what we talked about. If you enrich it with context, you have a very good use case. The second one is summarization.
Yeah.
When you give a lot of information, and especially with the context windows going bigger and bigger, you can give more and more information and summarize it in a more efficient way. Where can this apply in procurement? Reporting. You can get a lot of feedback, which is conversational from many stakeholders, and summarize it in just one click. And we know how reporting is a big problem in procurement. Typically, you have one resource per team dedicated to reporting. So that's one use case. Planning. When you're doing your supply chain planning, it's also a lot of data that you need to crunch and summarize. With a combination of rules and prompt engineering, you can make the planning process more efficient.